Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. This is your AC Milan Manchester United preview. It's Thursday, 8 o'clock kickoff. It's at the San Siro. It's the Europa League round of 16, second leg. It was a 1-1 draw in the first leg at Old Trafford. And it was an average performance by Manchester United. For large periods of the first leg, AC Milan dominated. They had some very good chances. They had 2 disallowed goals in the game. One from an offside from Raphael, and the other one from a handball from Kessie. The only positive from a Man United perspective in the first leg was Amad Diallo Traore coming off the bench and scoring his first goal for Man United. It was a very, very good header, and it was a lovely through ball by Bruno Fernandes. And like I've said in regards to Amad Diallo Traore, looks a good asset for the first team. We got him in a deal worth £37 million. We should have won the first leg. AC Milan did score in injury time. Dean Henderson should have saved it because he got a hand to it. And we had some chances in the first leg. Harry Maguire missed an absolute sitter. He hit the post from a yard out. Daniel James had a good chance, just put it wide, and Martial had a good chance, produced a good save from Donnarumma. When we played Milan in the first leg, it was the first time we played them in 11 years. AC Milan have got injuries. Some of their injured players are now back from injury. But in the first leg, AC Milan had Theo Hernandez out with injury. They had Ben Asa out with injury. I think he's still injured at the moment. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, he's still out with injury. Do you think he'll be involved in the second leg? Mandzukic, he's still out with injury. Rebic, I think he's now come back from injury, but he was injured in the first leg. Melindia, he's out with injury. Roman Ugolo, whatever you pronounce his name, he's out with injury. Hakan Çalhanoğlu, he was also out with injury. AC Milan have got the upper hand going into the second leg. Milan recently lost 1-0 to Napoli. Their current manager is Stefano Pioli. He's been AC Milan manager since October 2019. But the Europa League is definitely a priority for Man United, because it is a chance of us getting a trophy on the board. We got to the Europa League semis last season. We lost 2-1 to Sevilla, and we won the Europa League back in 2017 under the Jose Mourinho era, we beat Ajax in the final 2-0. This is a massive week for Man United. You know, Milan on Thursday, and then at the weekend we've got Leicester in the FA Cup quarter-final. The good news is, from a Man United perspective, we could have 5 injured players back for the game against Milan. Let's put into the equation in the first leg, we had injuries though, as well as AC Milan. So Paul Pogba, he could be involved in this game. Paul Pogba has been out with a thigh injury. The last game Paul Pogba played was the 3-3 draw with Everton. And he has been a big miss because we lack creativity in that midfield without him, and we are too defensive. And we was getting the best out of Paul Pogba before he sustained this thigh injury. Now, Anthony Martial, he's also another player that could be back. Martial's been out with a hip injury. He sustained that in the first leg against Milan. I think he did have the scan on his hip. Donny van de Beek, he's also another player that could be returning. I think he's missed our last 7 games because he's got a muscle injury. Edison Cavani, he could also return as well. I think De Gea will be in goal on Thursday because De Gea is now back in Manchester. He has been self-isolating. We're coming into this game on the back of a 1-0 win against West Ham in the Premier League. It's back-to-back wins in the Premier League for Man United. And it's the 3rd time we've beaten West Ham this season. I can assure now that Man United will finish in the top 4. It wasn't a great game against West Ham. Obviously, the goal came from an own goal from Craig Dawson. Like I said, Mason Greenwood, he had 2 good chances in the game. You know, he hit the woodwork twice, and Rashford had a very, very good chance, but, you know, he couldn't connect with it. But it was a very, very good cross by Mason Greenwood. You know, Bruno Fernandes, like I said, enjoyed a poor game, but he did have a good chance that produced a good save from Fabianski. Maguire put a very good performance out against West Ham. Defensively, very good. Lindelof also put a good performance out. You know, he kept Antonio quiet. You know, Luke Shaw was immense again. Rashford enjoyed a pretty good game. You know, Dean Henderson had nothing to do against West Ham. Tomorrow, I will be giving you my starting 11 prediction for this game. Now, like I've said, this year's summer transfer window is the biggest in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's managerial career. I'm expecting Solskjaer to get the backing he deserves in the summer because we've obviously got a director of footballing. It's John Murtough. And he's our first ever director of football. But, you know, John Murtough knows the club inside out because he's been at Man United for like 8 years now. And you've obviously got Darren Fletcher, that's our technical director. It says we're set for transfer summit this week. You know, Solskjaer's going to sit down with our new chefs and talk about our transfer targets and talk about our transfer plans for the summer in general. You know, Solskjaer has come out and said that he will have his final say on our transfer incoming deals. Now, Solskjaer so far has enjoyed 4 transfer windows as permanent Man United manager. And I don't think he's been backed enough so far. Woodward has come out to show his support for Solskjaer quite a few times, and even enjoying them bad periods, you know, Woodward assured that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job was safe. Solskjaer has made some good signings at Man United. He's spent almost £300 million, but as yet, he hasn't got all the players that he wanted to recommend in. I'm expecting us to make around 3 or 4 signings in the summer. A new forward and a new centre-half are the 2 priorities. Solskjaer said the other week, we may not do business as usual due to the pandemic. But he said he's only interested in bringing in players that will be a perfect fit for the club. Now, there's been more narratives coming out regarding Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland is our centre-forward priority. Borussia Dortmund's sporting director, Michael Zorg, has said Borussia Dortmund are prioritising finishing in the top 4 in order to keep Erling Haaland. It'd be good to see Solskjaer get Erling Haaland in, because Solskjaer knows the player well. Solskjaer was the one that gave Erling Haaland his debut at just the age of 16 at Mulder. And earlier on this season, Solskjaer did say that he's following Erling Haaland's progress. And he said, you know, he keeps in touch with Erling Haaland. Back in December 2019, Solskjaer and Woodward went to Norway to meet up with Erling Haaland to negotiate a possible move to Man United. But there's been a lot of clubs in for him. I think Dortmund are demanding in the excess of £100 million. He does have a release clause, Haaland, but that doesn't become active until next year. Since Haaland's arrival at Dortmund, he has been a revelation. Dortmund paid just £17 million for him. He's got a contract with Dortmund until 2024. You know, we're actually seeing him as a replacement for Anthony Martial. Now, obviously, you know the news on Pau Torres from Villarreal. Give you the news on him a couple of days ago. You know the news on Jules Koundé from Sevilla. You already know the news on Jadon Sancho. Man United are going to sell players in the summer transfer window, so in that aspect will generate money and it will help us with our rebuilding process. Like updated earlier on today, there's been stories coming out saying that Solskjaer is planning to sell 4 players to bolster our transfer budget, and he hopes to raise as much as £60 million. So he's hoping the transfer budget will be 140 million because Solskjaer is going to be given an £80 million transfer budget, and we know that's not enough, for the players that we need. But I think we'll probably sell more than 4 players in the summer. I think there's a good chance that Juan Mata will go in the summer because Juan Mata doesn't even get in our team now, and Juan Mata is out with injury at the moment. Juan Mata's current contract expires in the summer, but there is an option to trigger his contract for a further year. And Solskjaer said earlier on this season that he's not surprised that Juan Mata's linked to a move away from the club. It actually said that 3 Italian clubs were in for him. Earlier on this season, Juan Mata rejected an 18 million a year contract offer to play in Saudi Arabia. I think Mata's had a good career at Man United though. He's been at the club over 6 years. We got him in a deal worth £40 million from Chelsea back in 2014. Edison Cavani, there's a good chance he'll leave the club in the summer. Solskjaer has recently said Cavani is closer to Boca Juniors than staying at Man United, but prior to that he said his future has not been decided. Now, reports in Argentina said not so long ago that Cavani wants to leave Man United after just a season. And he's rejected the contract extension and he wants to go to Boca Juniors on a 3-year contract. And Edison Cavani's father was talking not so long ago saying that Edison Cavani is unhappy and he's not comfortable in England and he wants to leave. Earlier on this season though, it said Cavani wanted to stay at Man United beyond this season. And Solskjaer said he was set for contract extension talks. He's made an impact since he's coming. We got him on a free transfer last summer. He signed a 1-year contract with Man United with an option of a 2nd year. Nemanja Matic, we could sell him in the summer because he isn't one of our first choice midfielders, but he still gets his chances. I've always had my strong reservations about Matic because he's always been a slow player. Matic has been at the club almost 4 years. We got him in a deal worth £40 million from Chelsea back in 2017. Like I said, Pogba could still leave in the summer. Like I said, a lot of United fans are saying we need to sell Anthony Martial because Anthony Martial has been out of form for the vast majority of this season. Because obviously he's had chances but he hasn't converted them. But Solskjaer's come out and backed Martial to rediscover his form. And he said, he has been impressed with his work rate. Martial was good last season and he was good in his debut season under Louis van Gaal. Martial has been at the club over 5 years, but if we decide to sell him in the summer, I reckon we'd get around £30 million. Phil Jones, I also want him to leave as well. Phil Jones doesn't get in our team. Jones has been a long servant at Man United. This is his 10th season at the club. He's the only outfield player that's still here from the Ferguson era. He's been out of injury for over a year. David De Gea, there's a good chance we'll sell him in the summer so we can make Dean Henderson our number 1 goalkeeper. Recent narratives said we are willing to listen to offers for De Gea. I think we value him at around £50 million. Like I said, De Gea hasn't been available recently due to personal reasons, but he's obviously now back. De Gea's been a long servant at the club. This is his 10th season at Manchester United. A few years ago he was regarded as the best goalkeeper in the world, but in the last couple of years he's made calamitous mistakes, and reflecting on that, he has become a liability. De Gea's got 2 years left on his contract, and he's on £375,000 a week, which is a substantial amount. But Solskjaer warned De Gea earlier on this season that his number 1 jersey is under threat. And I've already said, we should put Dean Henderson as our number 1, because Dean Henderson's now reliable enough to become our number 1. He's got that experience behind him, and he endured 2 successful loans with Sheffield United, and he's done really well in the games he's played in this season. But Solskjaer has been facing a goalkeeping dilemma. And as you all know, in regards to Solskjaer, he's agreed to sign a new contract worth £9 million a year. So we've increased his wages. Sources from Old Trafford have said that talks are set to begin on any day over the new deal, because later on this month, Ole will enter the final year of his 3-year contract. And I think Solskjaer deserves a new contract, reflecting on the progress he's made. It actually said earlier on this season that Solskjaer's future was in doubt, because he admitted that nobody had spoke to him over a new contract. He actually said we'd wait until the end of the season to begin contract negotiations with Ole. Like I've said in regards to Solskjaer, he does deserve at least another season at the football club. This is his 2nd full season at the moment, but I'll stick to what I've said on my recent videos. I don't think he's the long-term manager for Man United. I really, really don't. But we've got to credit him in quite a few aspects, because we've enjoyed good periods under him where we have seen consistency, and in some of them good periods he's got the best out of the team. He's improved certain players as well. He's got us to the Europa League last 16, got us to the FA Cup quarter-finals. We've got a fantastic away record in the Premier League. We haven't lost away from home in the Premier League for over a year. We're 2nd in the Premier League. No one expected us to be there with how poor we was at the first part of this season. At one point, we was top of the Premier League. That's when we was obviously in the title race, but there was a period where we dropped too many points, so we're no longer in the title race. Solskjaer got us to the EFL Cup semi-final this season as well, lost to City 2-0. I also like the way he has promoted the youth, because he's brought more young players into the club and he's given the young players their chances. When Solskjaer taken over at Man United, he did assure that everybody will get their chances, including the young players. Solskjaer's got rid of a lot of players since he got recommended in. We saw a few players leaving the January transfer window. We saw Jesse Lingard go out on loan to West Ham. Tiedemann Mengi went out on loan. Facundo Palestri went out on loan. Odin Ighalo said his farewells to the club. We saw Rojo leave the club, and we saw Timothy Fosu-Mensah leave the club. And in the other transfer windows, Ollie's enjoyed, he's got rid of quite a lot of other players as well. He's got rid of the likes of Young, Valencia, Darmian, Smalling, Herrera, Lukaku, Sanchez, Angel Gomez. Also loaned quite a few players out, loaned Delo out, loaned Dylan Levitt out, loaned James Garner out, loaned Tahith Chon out. I think we loaned Joe Pereira out again for another season. And also, Solskjaer let Fellaini go. I think he was the first player to leave Man United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Fellaini left in January 2019. Solskjaer did well last season in his first full season at the club. He got us to 3 semi-finals, got us qualification for the Champions League and got us a 3rd place finish. When we have been inconsistent, not all of the blame has stemmed from Ole. But some of the blame's obviously stemmed from him. I've told you, Solskjaer has got to show tactical flexibility persistently. Yeah, he's shown it in some games, but he doesn't show it enough because in the vast majority of his games at Man United, he's been tactically naive, especially in a lot of the big games. But reflecting how long Solskjaer's been at the club, he has gained some managerial experience and he's learnt quite a bit on the job. He's been Man United manager over 2 years. Man United is the 3rd club in his managerial career. Before he was with us, he was at Molde. Won a few Norwegian titles and that at Molde. And before he was at Molde, he was at Cardiff. And his record at Cardiff was absolutely disastrous. Don't forget, Ole did manage the Man United reserve team for a couple of years. So he watched some of this team grow and develop. Solskjaer knows the club through thick and thin, because he's a legend of the club. He was a great player for us for 11 years. He flourished under Ferguson's guidance. And, if it doesn't work out under Ole, I will still adore him. Solskjaer must win a trophy at Man United this year. Gary Neville said the exact same thing. If we win a trophy, that marks progress. And the FA Cup is a chance of a trophy, and the Europa League is a chance of a trophy. Solskjaer's not yet won a trophy as Man United manager, and we haven't won a trophy since 2017, and that's nowhere near good enough to our standards. A club of our stature need to be winning trophies. It's as simple as that. There's been a lot of United fans, though, demanding Ole out of the club. There's a lot of United fans that think he's in a position that he shouldn't be in, because maybe people are thinking the club's too big for him to manage. Solskjaer knew when he'd taken over at Man United it was going to be a big job, despite him knowing the club well. He knew he had to come in and bring the consistency back. He knew he had to come in and get the right players in and all of that. I think we did give him the job too soon. Maybe we should have waited until the end of that particular season to decide or not whether to give him the job. But we give him the job permanently because he did very, very well as the interim manager. He was interim manager for 3 months and he won 14 games out of 19 in all competitions. So the club decided to give him the job permanently 2 years ago. We appointed Solskjaer in December 2018 to replace Mourinho. Don't forget, Woodward recently did a statement and he says the progress by Solskjaer and the players this season is clear. So in that aspect, the board are backing Ole. But I've got to say, he's the best manager since Ferguson. Mistakes have been made since Ferguson retired, and that's why we haven't been as consistent as we'd like to have been. No one is going to replicate what Sir Alex Ferguson did at the club. We've got to accept that. We've sacked 3 managers since Ferguson retired, and that was David Moyes, sacked him. Worst manager we've ever had. He got sacked after 10 months. We sacked Louis van Gaal after 2 years. despite him winning the FA Cup, and we sacked Jose Mourinho after 2.5 years, despite him winning 3 trophies in his first season. And we spent over £1 billion on players in the last 8 years. But yeah, like I've said, our recruitment policy's been poor for a long time. And the managers we've had haven't got the players that they wanted to recommend in. But hopefully, this all changes in the summer transfer window. Let's put into the equation, Solskjaer is inheriting players from other managerial eras. Because obviously there's still some players here from the Jose Mourinho era. There's few players here from the Van Gaal era, but the vast majority of the players Van Gaal brought in are no longer here. And Matt still here from the David Moyes era, and there's only 2 here now from the Ferguson era, and that's Phil Jones and David De Gea. So anyway, guys, that's everything to update you today. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon.